it's going to take a while, but the more that we practice, the easier it gets, and you get to a point where you just do it automatically, you know, and you want to get to that point so that when you need to tap into it, you can. You're going to be much more present for your child. You're going to be able to instill these skills much more effectively in your child if you spend that time taking care of yourself.
Welcome, Linwood Unified School District families, to Beyond the Classroom. We're very excited that you were able to join us today for a very special episode. I actually say that at every start because I do think every episode is special, just because the information is so important that I want our families to have. So today we're going to talk about SEL, Social Emotional Learning, what it is, what it stands for, what it looks like here in Linwood Unified. And to help us with that conversation, we have one of our original social emotional learning specialists, Alejandra Ochoa, who is currently at Lugo Elementary, but she has worked in a lot of the schools when we originally started with this position. And I'm going to let her talk about what SEL Specialist is, what do you guys do, what do you guys focus on, and why we brought this very unique, important position here to Linwood Unified. So here you go, Alejandra Ochoa.
Hey. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I am so excited to be here. I started about 3 years ago here at Linwood. I am a certificated school counselor, but in the capacity that we're in here, we are trying to teach our kiddos the building blocks that they will need to continue their education. I mean, we teach our kids math, we teach our kids reading, we teach our kids academia, but it's not possible to really learn, to really grow without really being able to be present and be in a mindset to be ready to learn. And I think that COVID really brought that up for a lot of our families, for a lot of our kiddos. And I'm so grateful to be working at this district that really values that in our children and wants to give students that tool or those tools to really thrive, you know, in every aspect of their life, because that is all incredibly important. But again, if they're not in the right mindset to receive the information, if they're, you know, our teachers aren't planting those seeds of knowledge in a fertile ground, it's not really going to take, it's not really going to grow. And we already know so much about how, as they get out, we want to build kiddos that are going to be good citizens of the world. But essentially it is self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, decision-making skills. And we want to try to incorporate that in our kiddos because, again, actually one of the reasons that I got into school counseling, I spent about 10 years working with adults here in this community, actually, for a great portion of it. And as they were getting ready to go out into the world, I would hear from employers all the time, like, we really just want people that have those soft skills, right? And so not only is it helping them to learn as they're here in school, but it's something that can help them in their career.
So when you say soft skills, we're talking about emotions?
We're talking about regulating
how we respond?
Correct.
How we accept things?
How we process them.
Attitude?
Absolutely.
So all those things that we don't get taught opening up a book, like math and English. Got it. So
exactly. So self-awareness would be basically being able to identify what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, how am I feeling, what are all of those feelings. Self-regulation is, okay, now that I understand what those feelings are, now that I understand what all of those emotions are, how can I get myself to a more centered space? How can I regulate? How can I feel more calm?
And you're teaching kids
We're teaching kids this every day, yes. So
Where was this? 40 years ago.
Right, when we were kids.
Yeah.
And you know what is so exciting is to see the looks on kids' faces. So when we go in and we do lessons, very often I'll let them know, I say, as grown-ups, a lot of us didn't have this when we were kids. So I want all of you guys to promise me that when you guys, when we wrap up this lesson, you guys are going to take this home and you're going to, share this with your parents. How many kids, how many of you guys are ready to teach your parents some of these skills? They all raise their hand and they're so excited because very often for our little ones, they're so used to being in spaces where adults are talking to them and teaching them and telling them what to do and what not to do. So for them to be in a position where they get to teach and they know something that maybe a grown-up in their life doesn't know, is really exciting, but it's also a great way for them to reinforce those lessons.
Wow. So your title, Social Emotional Learning Specialist.
Yes.
So SEL.
Yes.
So if someone is hearing this that has never heard of Social Emotional Learning, SEL, this is not new.
No.
It's something that's been around for a long time, but it's really been elevated the last 5 years.
Yes.
And really after COVID, even more, to help our little ones self-regulate their feelings.
Correct. So be able to identify their feelings, regulate their feelings, build strong relationships, be able to have social awareness and be aware of the differences between themselves and other people around them in their community, but also to be able to celebrate them and be more empathetic. And I think how many of us wouldn't want to live in a world where we're surrounded by adults and grown-ups who have those same skills, right? So we want to start, I heard a colleague put it in such a beautiful way where he said, you have teachers that teach you math, you have your teachers teach you reading. Well, I'm like a feelings teacher, and I'm going to teach you to understand your feelings and know how to find a more comfortable space for yourself. Find out what it is that makes you feel more comfortable when we're having those difficult feelings, but also to do more of the things that make us feel good and make us feel confident. So we do that through lessons. We do that we have Wellness Wednesdays, so we do activities for the whole school on Wednesdays that focus on the different components of CASEL. We have done workshops for parents. We do groups, we do small groups. So we really are, we do one-on-one, support for kiddos sometimes. Wow. So we really are trying to meet students where they are, and we're doing it through a tiered system. So our tier 1 would be more of those school-wide things that we do. Like I said, our Wellness Wednesdays, our lessons, those tier 2 levels of support. So for our tier 1s work for the majority of our students, and they all receive those supports, the classroom lessons, the activities that are school-wide. The tier 2 would be if, they're receiving that, but they're still struggling. They're still having difficulty regulating their emotions in their classroom and aren't able to focus, or we see that it's starting to affect their grades or starting to affect their relationships with other classmates. That might look like, again, more of that one-on-one. We might be doing groups to kind of help support that. Sometimes it's a classroom might be struggling with something, and we have conversations with teachers. We might go in and do a lesson for that particular class to help support, and it could be something as simple as what to do if I'm frustrated, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What are some of the things I can do to help myself feel more comfortable? Tattling versus telling, reporting versus, I'm trying to get my friend in trouble. That would be more of a tier 2 support, right? And then our top tier would be where we kind of reach out to our colleagues here. So we have a wonderful support system. We work with our LCSWs. We work with our community schools case managers. Sometimes it could be that to the teachers or to other staff members, it looks like this kiddo's just kind of being, defiant and not wanting to follow rules, when in reality they might be struggling with, other needs that kind of go beyond that, where they might need support with, their family maybe just lost their job, and in that case we might go to our community schools case manager, who might have contacts out in the community that might be able to, know of a job fair that's coming up. Maybe they needed, other supports. Again, so sometimes it presents as an emotion, that's kind of what's visible, but our role really is to kind of be detectives and try to identify what those needs are and collaborate with the support systems that we have here in the district to make sure that when they come to school, they feel safe, that they feel capable to kind of learn, and you know, that they're not worried about those things, you know, that they know that there are grown-ups here that are going to support them and their families through those challenging moments.
Can you share a little bit of some of the challenges that you were seeing, let's say 3 years ago when you first started, that led to this creation of this position, like that the students were struggling with?
Well, I think one of the main challenges was, you know, our community went through a lot of upheaval. So whether that was, you know, again, parents losing jobs, whether that was
family members passing.
I'm still hearing about that. You know, like from time to time, I'll still have a little one come up to me and, you know, share that grandparent passed away. And as we know, you know, grief comes in waves and it's not linear. And again, it might have felt okay, you know, a year ago or two, and then all of a sudden something happens that brings back that memory and makes it challenging for our kiddos. So there was a lot of loss, there was a lot of challenges that happened. I think that, again, that was always something that was present, though. If you are in a safe, comfortable space, you're going to be more likely to thrive and to learn and to grow, right? In this case, though, because it was such a big global challenge, it put the spotlight on. All of a sudden we started to notice, you know, there was suicidality was on the rise, anxiety was on the rise. And it's not just our kiddos, it's their families as well, you know, and they're aware of so much more and they pick up on so much more and bring with them so much more than just, again, an open mind to learn, right? So I'm sure we've all heard it, right? Like, well, you leave your problems at the door, right? Like, we're here to learn, you leave your problems at the door. When we're here, we're just going to learn. Well, how realistic is it, even for us as grown-ups, right? Like, we have a challenging situation that comes up in our family. As much as you try and you want to, there may be a little bit of that there, right? So, again, when we first got here, it was kind of building, creating the building blocks, right? Now, I can't even tell you the most beautiful gifts that I've received from families is when they tell me, you know, we had a difficult moment this weekend and my kiddo sat down. I literally had a parent say this to me, you know, and he sat down and he started taking deep breaths and was counting to 10 and then came and said, "Mommy, it's okay to be sad," or "It's okay to be frustrated." And I literally got chills and I teared up, you know, because that you plant the seeds and you hope that you will get to see them flourish. You never know if you will. And I wish that I had a magic wand. And I say this to the kids all the time, right? Like, I wish I had a magic wand that could make all your problems disappear. Unfortunately, I do not.
Yeah.
But one thing I promise that I will do is I will always listen. I will always be here. And again, we'll try some things. If they work, great. If they don't work, we'll try some things.
So what are some of the behaviors you see that might require some of your assistance?
Some of the behaviors that we see that might require some of our assistance are, again, sometimes some kiddos may be, very often it shows up as they're being very disruptive in class. You know, they're having a hard time focusing in class and thus are disrupting
others,
their classmates
from learning.
Exactly. And again, that's how it presents.
Right.
But then once you sit down with the kiddos, very often you talk to them and you find out that there are other...
Just so parents can kind of have a clearer picture of what your role is. Like, let's say a student's in class and they are upset because of whatever. No one knows yet why.
Right.
And let's say they become emotionally sad and they start crying in class.
That happens
enough
too,
where they can't stay in class.
Right.
You would come in.
Yes, so very often...
You would get called.
Right, so very often the teacher will send me an email or will give me a call and ask me to come down. I will go and check in with the student and just kind of give them that space to
Okay.
Kind of recenter. We have different, different fidget tools. I try to always keep my lights dim, just to kind of make it a quiet, safe space. I may play some music for them. If they feel like talking, I'm there. If sometimes they may not feel like talking just yet and they just need a quiet place to just kind of feel more centered. That first initial meeting, I would be there to support any of our kiddos. Obviously, if it went beyond that and they needed some additional support and they, and sometimes it could be a loss of a loved one, a loss of a pet, a move, a new sibling, major changes that happen in their life. If it's something the short term, where it's like 6 to 8 weeks, that's where we may be able to kind of help support. If it's anything kind of beyond that, we would typically make the recommendation, because that would be outside of my scope of practice, to make a referral to our healthcare collaborative.
Got it.
And we have a network of therapists that we work with. We make the referral to our LCSW team. Then they would, go out refer them out.
Okay, so back to the daily. So
Yes.
you would help the student. That's called self-regulate. Would that be called self-regulate?
Self-regulate.
If let's say they're in class and they're crying and they can't function, so they go to you. And you help them.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That would be very often. It's more of a co-regulation, right?
Okay.
So we might do breathing exercises together.
Okay.
I might help guide them in a meditation. We might listen to music. And every kiddo is different. Sometimes they need to get the wiggles out.
Yeah.
I have like a little mini basketball in my office. Like sometimes they just need to throw a couple of hoops. At that point, we're kind of co-regulating, right?
When I hear I hear me and you.
Me and you, right. So very
you're
often,
helping me.
Very often, it'll start, and this is why I say co-regulate, right?
Yeah.
So they come into my office, they're in tears. One of the most common things that I do with all of them, I hold their hands, we look at each other. Okay, we're going to take deep breaths together, okay? Here we go.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Breathe in through your nose, breathe out, right? I might teach them, breathe in. When, we're going to trace our hand. As you trace up, you're going to take a deep breath in. As you go down, you're going to breathe out. So we're doing activities together. Now, the goal is that, like in the other example that I gave you, right, where the kiddo knew we had practiced these activities together. We had practiced these exercises together. He knew he had that in his toolbox. He knew I can count to 10 if I'm having really big feelings. I can take deep breaths if I'm having really big feelings. Self-regulation is I have that toolbox and I know I can take out those tools and I can use them whenever I need them.
Oh, so when you're not there.
When you're not there, or even if I am there.
But that's co-regulating. You're doing it you're helping me
Correct.
And self is by myself.
Well,
Self-regulating.
Yes and no in the sense that if they come into my office and they're like, Ms. Ochoa, I just need 5 minutes. I just need a quiet space. That would be self-regulating because they know what they need and they're able to ask for it and they're able to, right? And it's so beautiful when you get to see kiddos get to that point.
And we're teaching kids this in elementary.
We're teaching this in elementary, correct.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes,
that's
amazing. Yes.
And what's the purpose of teaching them so young? What's the long-term?
It's like anything else where the more you practice, the better you get at it. You know what I mean? So we all know that the challenges are obviously going to grow and are going to get exponentially more challenging, right? So if they're already learning these things at an elementary level, right, and in elementary schools, then as they go into junior high, as they go into high school, they're going to already have this in their, in their toolbox. One thing one example that I've used with kiddos that really seems to kind of connect with them, I've used the zones of regulation. And we'll draw the brain, right? And here's just kind of a visual that I think might also help parents to kind of understand why and how this is so important. The space where it's easier for us to learn is when we're kind of in our green zone, right? So green zone means we're good to go, okay?
And these are the zones of regulation.
These are the zones of regulation.
The different colors.
Yes, the different colors. So green means we're good to go.
Okay.
Green means I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm focused, right? When we're in that zone, and I'll draw the brain with kiddos, right? So we'll draw the brain, and I draw 4 little doors, right? So there's 4 little doors. When I'm in the green zone, when I'm calm and centered and happy and focused, I'm able to really learn, all the doors are open in my brain, right? I'm able to absorb the information. I'm able to retain the information in a much easier way. Now, as my emotions start getting bigger, maybe I'm starting to feel frustrated, maybe I'm scared, maybe I'm nervous. The way I kind of explain it to kiddos is like, maybe I'm starting to, my emotions are taking control of my body. I'm not as much in control of my body anymore. At that stage, it's, you know, the color yellow. The color yellow means slow down, right? So at that point, if I'm looking at the brain, there's still maybe 2 little doors open, but
In the green,
there were 4, right? So it's a little bit harder for the information to really go in and really for us to be able to take it in, right? Guess what? If you don't do anything, and I'll use the example of a balloon too, right? So a balloon that's green is beautiful and full and looks wonderful, right? If I keep blowing air into that, what's going to happen? It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And what are you already feeling? You're already kind of nervous. You don't know if it's going to pop, right? So at that point, we need to slow down. And then we will go over different skills that we can do, right? What can we do when we're starting to feel nervous or worried?
So you teach the kids the zone of regulation.
I've taught the kids the zones of regulation, absolutely.
I think we need to teach us.
Right?
The zones of regulation.
Yeah,
because it's great. It's great. It's even great vocabulary. That way kids know, like,
I'm in my red zone.
I'm in the yellow zone right now. Yes. You know, let's slow it down.
And so once we get into the red zone, that means
done.
Stop. It's done. Yes, I am so, I am livid. I'm so, so angry. I'm so worried. I'm so mad that like all the doors are closed.
And these are all tips that parents can use at home.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And actually, it's so important for parents to use this at home. The one zone I skipped was the blue zone, right? So blue zone is like a rest stop. That's when I'm feeling sick or tired. I might need to do something to up my energy level, right? I might need to go for a run. I might need to listen to music. I might need to dance. All of those things, I think it's so important for parents to really be able to model it for our kiddos. And that is one of the reasons that we are really trying to reach out to our families as well, because as part of, SEL, one of our goals is not only to work with the kiddos one-on-one, it's not only to work with the teachers, not only to work with the administrators, but really to work with our parents, with the community at large, because in order for these skills, like I said, the more we practice, the better we get at it. But if we're all speaking the same language, if we're all kind of on the same page, then it's going to be more likely that kiddos will be able to retain these skills and that they will be able to practice it. The more you practice, the more natural it comes to you. It's like anything. This is one of the lessons that we've done with Second Step, which is, if you're driving, for us as grown-ups, right? If you're driving to a brand new place, the very first time you're driving, you have to stop and think, okay, how many lights? What are some of the markers that are around there, right? You're much more aware of the steps that it's taking you to get there. When you're coming into work, sometimes you don't even know how you got here, right? Like you just go on autopilot. It's the same thing with using some of these coping skills, taking deep breaths, counting to 10, meditating, listening to music. All of these coping skills that we're teaching our kiddos, the very first couple of times they may have to stop and think about it and, try to remember what it is that they needed to do and like, okay, wait, what zone am I in? Okay, what are some of the things we can do? Journaling, that's right. That really helped me last time. It's going to take a while, but the more that we practice, the easier it gets. And you get to a point where you just do it automatically, and you want to get to that point so that when you need to tap into it, you can.
And I think that's so important because if we don't know it as parents, how do we teach our kids?
And our kids are watching us. They're watching us. They're listening to us. They are, whether or not we're aware, especially the little ones, right? Like as you get older, you're kind of starting to want to develop your own identity, and that's just a part of the natural stages of development. But especially when you're little, you're seeking out the approval of the grown-ups in your life, right? So especially at that age, it's so important. It's important at every age because, I'm a grown woman and I still look for my parents. I still look for that validation. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But especially for the little ones, like they really are in that stage where you are looking to your grown-ups and hoping to get that, well, what do I do now? Well, this is how mom does it. This is how dad does it. And you just naturally do it that way. So again, we speak a lot louder with the things that we do than with the things that we say. And I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of working with this age group is that they know.
Yeah.
They know. And I would say age, and when I say age group, I mean K through 12. Like, come on, let's be honest. Like
everyone.
All of our students, they know. They're
very smart.
They know when adults really care about them. They know when adults are concerned, when they are worried, when they're insecure, when they, and again, that's all a natural part of being human. And I think very often, at least I feel like I grew up in a time where you thought like grown-ups were perfect and they didn't feel mad. They didn't feel worried. Like these are not things they had to deal with. They had it all figured out, right? Yeah. I couldn't wait to be a grown-up so I could have it all figured out. But one of the things that I've learned in my time here at Linwood and just kind of in my time in working with little ones is that sometimes they learn more when we are willing to share our vulnerabilities and the things that we don't know and the things that we are struggling with and how we overcome them than when we pretend like
everything's perfect.
Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything's okay.
Yeah.
Being able to say like, oh, you know what? And very often I'm amused by their response because I will ask them when we're going through the zones, for example, I will ask them, hey, so do you think Ms. Ochoa ever gets mad?
Yeah.
They're like, sometimes. Let me tell you, I do.
Yeah.
But I think, again, if we're willing to say, you know what, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
How are we going to fix it? What do we do? What do we do from here? And being able to give them the permission to be embarrassed if you made a mistake, to feel sad if you feel sad, to feel mad if you feel mad. I really try to encourage, and I think some of the most powerful moments of my interactions with students have come from me creating a safe enough space that they know and understand that all of our feelings are okay. It's okay to feel mad. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to be disappointed, embarrassed. Like it's a part of the human process and we all feel that way. Of course, I don't say that to the little ones, but it is a part of the being human is having all those emotions, but it's what we do with those feelings that matter, right? So allowing them to both understand that it's okay to feel that way, but is it okay for me to hit my little brother or sister because I'm mad? Maybe not, right? But what can we do?
Right. It's how we respond to them.
Exactly.
That's important.
Exactly. And that takes practice.
It takes a lot of practice.
It takes practice. And that's, I think, one of the misconceptions, I think, about our role that like I said, I wish I had a magic wand. I wish I could make it all better. And I wish that things could change right away. But we don't have that magic wand. It's a process. It takes time. And it's something that, again, it's not... If we try it once and it doesn't work and we give up, we're not really going to get anywhere. We're only going to get somewhere if we continue to grow and we continue to practice these skills.
Yeah.
So really, the best thing that parents can do is do the work for yourself, spend some time. There's so many resources online nowadays. There's so many resources online that are free of charge that didn't exist, a couple of years ago.
Right.
But giving yourself that space for self-care is not selfish. You're going to be much more present for your child. You're going to be able to instill these skills much more effectively in your child if you spend that time taking care of yourself. I mean, look, it's important to take care of yourself just for the sole purpose of you matter too and you're important too.
Yes.
But if you're worried about your kiddo and you're thinking that by ignoring my feelings and what I need and all of those things, putting those aside and shelving them and they're not going to notice, guess what? Wow. They see that.
They see it.
They see that. They feel that, They're going to be in a much better space if mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, my grown-up, right, is feeling good, is feeling confident, is feeling, or is not. Or is not, and it's saying that, you know what, I'm feeling really frustrated, I'm going to go for a walk. You know what, I'm feeling really mad, I'm going to listen to some music. I'm going to draw. I'm going to, and trying to figure out what it is that helps you to feel better. And if you need that support, to reach out to your school counselor, reach out to your SEL specialist, reach out to your community case manager, because we have so many resources that we're so fortunate to have in this district. But one thing we aren't is mind readers, so we do need to hear, what those needs are, and once they're shared, we're going to do everything we possibly can to.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, to share that.
And with that being said, as we wrap up today's podcast, what are the top 3 tips that you would give to parents in regards to supporting their child? And I know you already gave some very important ones. But in supporting their children through the learning of their emotions and how to process their emotions. What would be the top 3 tips if you had any?
One of the things that was really challenging for me when I first started my grad school program, right, was reframing how we talk about feelings with kiddos, because very often, and I heard this, I don't know if you did when you were a kiddo, like, you shouldn't feel that way. Oh, but stop. Oh, you're going to be fine.
I'm guilty of saying those things, okay? Right? I'm guilty of it.
And we're doing it with a good heart, right?
Yeah.
And we're really doing it with the best intention.
Because we don't want our kids to feel that way.
Absolutely. I mean, look, and for any of us, any of us who have kiddos, for any of us who work with kiddos, like, you get into this field because you want to help them grow and thrive, right? So absolutely, our first instinct is going to be to protect them and want to make sure that they're safe and feel good and cozy and proud and all of those things. But the fact of the matter is, do we feel that way 100% of the time?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? We have those moments of like, I feel frustrated or I feel insecure. So validating their feelings and really allowing them to feel those feelings, right? So, you know what? It's whatever feeling you're feeling, it's okay. Tell me more.
So it's okay. Tell me more.
It's okay.
So validating their feelings.
Validating their feelings. Tell me more, because guess what? We automatically, when kiddos tell us something, we are automatically going to put that meaning behind it, right? We think we know why they're feeling that way, when really, you know what? Mom, I'm feeling really frustrated. Well, you shouldn't feel that way. What does that do? It automatically cuts down the conversation, right? Versus, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. Why don't you tell me more?
Okay. Instead of, you shouldn't have done that.
You shouldn't have done that, right?
You shouldn't have done that.
Are they going to want to share with you? No. I might think that you're feeling really frustrated because you didn't get what you wanted, but I might feel really frustrated because I worked really hard and I didn't get what I needed. That's a totally different conversation, right? With the kiddos. A valid one, but a very different conversation. Or maybe I just needed a drink of water and I didn't get it. Well, guess what? Here you go, honey. You know what I mean? Sometimes the need that we think that is missing might not necessarily be what they're feeling or seeing. So, you know what? Validating their feelings. Tell me more. Secondly, I think we already kind of hit upon it, which is, number 1, spend that time for self-care. If you need that time, I think for a lot of us in this community, it's not true of everybody, but for a lot of us in this community, you have a support system, right? Whether it's the school, whether it's in your own family, whether it's in your own community, it's okay to reach out and say, you know what? I need some me time, right? Or I need this. It's okay to verbalize and seek out support for yourself so that you're in a good space, and really continue to work on that and come at it from a very honest, mindful space. You know what I mean? Of, look, I don't, and be okay with not knowing. Be okay with asking for help. Be okay, because then in return, we're teaching our kiddos to, it's okay to seek out information. It's okay to learn. It's okay to grow. It's okay to not know everything. But just the fact that you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to change, that is so powerful and so beautiful, right?
Yes.
So being able to recognize your own feelings in a way that is non-judgmental, in a way that is not self-loathing, in a way that is not, but is really just kind of being present with it, and then taking the steps to, okay, what do I do with it now, right? And if you don't know that it's okay to ask for help, because we have resources for families as well.
Yes.
Right? So doing that work and modeling for our kiddos what we want to see in them, because our actions speak much louder than our words.
Yes.
And the third thing that I'm really still working on myself is celebrating the process, not the outcome.
Okay.
So we kind of already touched upon that today, in that we plant the seeds. We hope that we'll see them grow, but we don't necessarily know if we'll see them grow, right? I think naturally, how many of us have ever said, oh my gosh, I'm so proud that you got an A.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud that you got, you were in first place. I'm so proud that you brought the certificate home.
And you won the game.
You won the game, yay. Now, the challenge with that, it's great to be proud of that, but here's the thing. We have to be very mindful of the choice of words with our kiddos, because if we're only celebrating the outcome, you can put in all the hard work, you can put in all the long hours, you can have all the positive attitude and energy going into it, but are we always going to get the outcome we want?
No.
If we're only praising the outcome, then that's what we're reinforcing in our kiddos, versus saying, you know what, I'm so proud that you didn't give up. I'm so proud that you got up every morning and you went out and you worked, you did the hard work. I'm so proud that that you gave it your best effort. I'm so proud that you weren't afraid to fail. I am so proud that, even though it could have gone sideways, you still went out and you did it. You were so brave.
Yeah.
Right? When we praise the process, we're instilling in them a set of values and a set of skills that in the long run is going to, like I said earlier, really help them be those good citizens that we want them to be. Those productive members of society that we want them to be. Those success doesn't just come from who was the smartest naturally, who was and believe, I don't believe in there is a naturally smart person, right? I think we really, again, try to encourage the growth mindset in our kiddos. But I know as a society, we think that, right? Oh, well, this kid is smart. This kid is not, right? No, everybody is. We're all capable.
Absolutely.
We're all capable. We all have different strengths. We all have different abilities, different gifts, right? But again, success really comes from perseverance, from continuing, from not giving up, from looking for other outcomes, from all of these tools that, again, we're trying to instill in our students so that they are successful in the long run. And again, the greatest compliment that I've ever received from my parents is when we hear that not only are the kiddos practicing the skills, but now they have parents practicing the skills, So
that's powerful.
That's our hope, is that, again, as they grow through their educational journey, that they're going to continue to build upon these skills these little seeds that we planted, that they continue to blossom and grow.
Thank you so much.
Of
that was
course.
Very powerful. So SEL Specialist, Alejandra Ochoa, she's at Lugo Elementary. We have one SEL specialist at every elementary school to provide early intervention on social emotional learning and other resources that our kids might need, because we value them. So like Alejandra said, if you are interested in receiving more information, if you need support with counseling, we have SEL specialists, we have licensed clinical social workers, we have community school case managers. Please reach out to your local school, and we're here to support you. And this is such powerful information, and everything starts with us.
Absolutely.
It starts with us, so we could build our little ones to be powerful individuals, and we're so excited that you guys are able to provide those resources to our families.
And it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. It's a partnership, and we need all our parents to support
1,000%.
to be part of all of this, that we're all learning and growing together. As professionals, we're human ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we all were raised our certain ways, so we're very excited that you guys are here providing these resources to our families. Absolutely. So thank you for joining us today. There's a lot, and we can continue talking about this forever. But thank you for joining, and thank you for listening to this important information. And again, any other resources that you guys might need, please don't hesitate to reach out to your local school, here the district office. There's a lot of people who care, and we're here to support. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.